Welcome back to the Uncle Bob Crypto Podcast 24. I'm here with JD Salbego, who is a highly respected global leader in blockchain, digital assets, tokenized security, and decentralized finance, with a history of working with industry-leading startups, crypto funds, institutions, and governments. He currently serves as CEO of BitTalk.io, a Singapore-based crypto exchange. A little bit about JD. He's regularly invited to host presentations at leading conferences and events worldwide, like the World Economic Forum, Block Show, and Delta Summit. That's where I met him. That's where I got his Telegram details. He's been a featured speaker alongside industry leaders such as Tim Draper, Brock Pierce, Roger Ver, Chang, Peng Zhao. That's easy to those who don't know.
Easy is way easier.
Yeah. Charles Hodgkinson, Bobby Lee. Basically, all of the top brass, shall we say. And he's a featured contributor on the #1 blockchain news site, Cointelegraph.com. He's also been featured in Forbes, Business Insider, and all of the rest. He lives by the rule that new experiences birth uninhibited creativity and freedom. And that type of creative freedom births new ideas, and new ideas can change the world. Welcome to the podcast, JD.
Thank you for having me. I can't believe you pulled that my quote out of my bio there.
Yeah, what does that mean? New experiences birth uninhibited creativity and freedom. That type of creative freedom births new ideas. New ideas can change the world. Tell us a little bit more about that.
That ties into a lot of stuff, man. I should have been a scientist. What my first love was an archaeologist, but second, as I was an artist and I'm a musician too, but my first love was neuroscience. I wanted to be a neuroscientist and do research. Sorry, been up for a million hours today. Research studies on neuroscience, quantum physics, and philosophy, because there's a lot of stuff that wraps into that. And I still am an avid reader, and basically I study all of those fields still currently up to date. And many philosophies and many spiritualities talk about the silence, hence meditation, right? There's intuition that we all have inside of us that a lot of times we actually can't listen to. We don't see it. It's skewed because of so many sensory images and sensory, things coming inside. And, the filter just gets overwhelmed. This is a whole 5 other podcasts, seriously, about this, about this stuff if you really want to go into it.
He's going deep, man.
Bottom line, look, read the book. I'm a big avid reader of Carl Jung, one of the top, psychoanalysts, philosophers. He kind of coined in the 20th century and modernized synchronicity, right? Yeah. Which a lot of religions and spiritualities and scientists have been talking about before. A lot of quotes you'll hear, you talk about going and meditating, or American Indians used to do spirit walks, right? Their vision quest, things like that. Some with peyote, some without peyote. Yeah. There was a ritual to go find their spirit animal, right? Adults, which I have a tattoo of my spirit animal. I wasn't really into that, but I had an experience on my own doing my own form of what what the Aborigines call a walkabout, or just pondering, which is like another form of seeking, right? And I did that out in the desert for a while, and one night I had some profound experiences. Anyways, bottom line, theory of relativity came out of a dream. The scientists that cracked the code of DNA came out of a dream. And there are countless examples of those breakthroughs that have happened when you can find the silence, right?
Absolutely. Well, think about music, where you're I don't know if you played music as well. I'm a musician, where you just hit that moment where it comes. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it comes from. You might be in a group of people.
It's called that.
What's that?
That's Mushin. That means no mind in Zen Buddhism in Japanese.
Yeah,
And that's the
to get
moment
out of the
you
way.
just talked about. You just talked about hitting the mushin, where there's no mind. It's pure subconscious and energy,
Absolutely.
right? And
Yeah.
senses.
Well, you talked about synchronicity. Let's go back to your early life. Kind of you talked about music. You talked about your education. Talk about how you got into this crazy world called crypto, and that word synchronicity. I guess it played a part in you being here today.
Hindsight is 20 vision, as they say, right? 2020. So if I look back now, it all makes sense. In the moment, you don't always see it, but man, hindsight, it's unreal, the synchronicity in my life. I mean, you know, that's, again, those are I have buddies who host podcasts on all this stuff on intention and quantum physics. And, so I'm very big into that stuff. Bottom line, man, like, I was born in Hollywood, grew up with celebrities. I was an artist. I had the science, like, inspiration. And I mean, I studied it in college. When I was still in high school, I studied biological psychology, aced all the courses. I was 16, 17 years old. But I wanted to be in the music business, man. I loved music. Art was my first thing. I'm still an artist. Used to do urban art, as they call it, urban murals, urban art, right?
You have a tag.
I still have a mural that's up that I did,
Cool.
I was sponsored by MIT in Los Angeles. A lot of my friends went on to do very, very big urban artworks. I mean, one just did the first AR urban artwork experience. It's unreal. They painted a whole side of the building in New York City, and then the company that sponsored it built an app around it, AR. I mean, it's unreal. Anyways, they all do, like, storyboards now for all the biggest movies and stuff. So I went into the music business, man. At 17, I was still in college and high school, graduated early from taking college courses, and I went straight into the music business at 17. By 19, I had a successful career. I started out as a recording engineer, so I have a tech background, but not so much on the programming side, but on visual and audio and to a certain extent, a little bit of electronical, engineering and stuff. And that just grew. I always was an entrepreneur, and I started working, I was Snoop Dogg's head engineer by the time I was 20 years old. You know what I mean? And I worked with Jimmy Iovine, biggest label owner pretty much in the world, sold beats with Dr. Dre, you know what I mean, to Apple for $3 billion. That was the biggest startup that came out of, that acquisition was like, that put LA on the map in the startup scene. LA is very big on e-commerce and entertainment startup. You know what I mean? You'll see a lot of that coming out of Los Angeles and stuff. Anyway, so fast forward, man, I went through the entertainment, the film business. I executive produced shows with NBC, YouTube. I had my own record label with Warner Music Group. I worked with huge artists and celebrity brands like Demi Lovato, producers who would produce Sons of Anarchy. I raised money for film. Man, what I like to say is the famous quote from Darwin, who I love, obviously evolution. I'm currently reading a bunch of stuff right now about DNA and everything. It's really interesting, man. I got an article. You guys are gonna. It's insane. Wait till you see how I relate DNA and blockchain. It's literally gonna be mind-boggling. I've been working on it for like 4 months in my spare time, because it's not like a regular article I put out like on a news site like Cointelegraph or my own blog. It's like a kind of an essay. You know what I mean? Wait till it's called the God Chain. Is what it is. It's
the
really
God Chain. Oh my God!
I'm not joking, man. Wait till you see the similarities between blockchain and the DNA strand and everything. It's unreal. Anyway, so I can go on forever. Started raising money for startups and moved into more entertainment tech. And I worked for a billionaire VC fund out of LA for a while. I built their whole entertainment content VC division for acquisitions, and which was across TV, film, celebrity content, influencer content, and then really started moving more into tech startup stuff, just pure tech and startups. I started working with Google's Startup Grind, which we had 3 million community or members across the world. It's like the biggest startup community to help provide educational resources for startups, other connections. We hosted events, meetups, same thing like we do in this industry. You know, I fell in love with blockchain when I read the white paper in like 2000, end of 2000, like mid 2009, maybe a little bit after. Fell in love. I've always had a little bit of libertarian values, not as strong as Roger Ver, but I'm right there. And it floored me. But I had a successful career going on at the time, and nothing was happening at that time. You know what I mean? So I just watched it. I followed it. I was in, LA, and that's where all the whole DNA crew was from, and Brock and all of them. And I knew a lot of them back then, and a lot of those the people. And there's a big blockchain scene in LA, huge, and it's only gotten even exponentially bigger now. But around 14, 15, man, I was just, I purely moved into blockchain, and that started really not just going to, hanging out with people and doing meetups and reading while I still was in my career. I started putting deals together, and I leveraged my first experiences, my past experiences, which was entertainment tech. And in the beginning, from 15 to 17, there were a lot of entertainment-based startups, as we know. A ton, man. Not so much anymore. There's a few here that are still popping up, but there's a lot. So that was easy for me to leverage my experience, and be like, I'm the expert. You guys are trying to break into this industry and add a solution. Let me help you, right? I know all the people, all the major companies, all the major celebrities. I know everything in and out of it, you know what I mean? And also the growth strategy behind it, helping with financing stuff and all that. So it kind of just expanded, man. I worked in Asia throughout my entertainment career a little bit. Maybe I'd do deals there once or twice a year, maybe once every other year. I got in this industry, and somehow with a few referrals from people, that brought me out into Asia, and I have not pretty much left. And I became like the go-to American, non-Asian person, helping Asian companies expand westward into Europe and the U.S., and vice versa with American and European companies break into Asia.
Interesting. Wow.
And,
definitely the Asian side. I know you worked in Japan. You've done a lot of work out there, haven't you?
Yeah. I was linked to boosting the economy with crypto in 2018. So I organized the largest blockchain conference, still to this day in the world, 15,000 people. We had across 2 days. We did it with the government. I brought all the big speakers, including Roger Ver and Brock Pierce and Miko. I even got Yoshitaka Kitao, CEO of SBI, and we did it with the government, and it was massive, man. I mean, I spoke to, obviously, and nationally televised. And I ran some companies out there. I was in the ICO world a lot, man. I mean, I specialized in the crowdfunding aspect, advisory, the primary markets. Basically when I got in this industry, I with the skills in my experience before, I knew how to raise money very well. I knew how to do road shows. I basically went straight into crypto investment. My biggest thing is, and I'll say that straight up, my biggest thing is the marketing and the communications, man. I know how to blow projects up. I know how to expand them. I know how to put teams together into strategy. And I mean, that's how I became, like an influencer in this business, was organically. I mean, it's kind of funny because I came from entertainment industry. So, because my talents for communications and marketing, and having the technical background, understanding it, but that aspect, man, I became the face of a lot of companies, specifically a lot of Asian ones, right? So I would help them expand in Asia, through APAC, up or down, whichever way, if you're in Japan based or Singapore based, up, and then help them expand. So I became the face of the company, representing them to all the shareholders, all the major VCs at every conference, in the media, and organically, because of that, I kind of just organically started becoming an influencer, because I was the face of everything. And that's been my knack in this industry is, I know how to lead companies, right?
But thanks for coming on today. I know you've had a long one.
Appreciate it. Thanks for inviting me. I had a blast.